In this lesson, we're going to be looking for the information that is needed to conclude that the two triangles are congruent by the stated test or congruence theorem. All right, so first thing that we should mark in this figure is the vertical angles. So we know that those vertical angles are congruent, and we're already told that one pair of sides are congruent. So we can mark off the S in ASA, and we can mark off one of those A's. So the additional part that is required to conclude that the two triangles are congruent by angle side angle is angle M and angle E. Here we want to determine if the two triangles are congruent. We want to use angle side. So we already have the two angles marked. So we need one of the included, non-included side. So you could either choose JH and CE or IH and DE. So you could say JH is congruent to CE or IH is congruent to DE. Here we would mark the GH is congruent to GH by the reflexive property. And so that's the leg for both right triangles. So we need to mark the hypotenuse congruent in order to prove that they're congruent by hypotenuse leg. So IH is going to be congruent to WG. Here we have an angle and one side congruent, so we can mark those off. So we need another angle such that the side that is marked congruent is a non-included side. So either angle D or angle C, either one would work. So angle D is congruent to angle Z or Y, and angle C congruent to angle Z or Y. All right, we've got two right triangles since those two vertical angles are congruent, and we have the hypotenuse of both right triangles marked congruent. So we just need to mark one of the legs. So you could either have NL is congruent to EL, or you could put ML is congruent to DL. Here we want to first mark the vertical angles congruent. We're already told that one pair of sides are congruent, and then we want to mark the congruent vertical angles, and then the additional part is going to be a side such that the angle that's marked is the included angle. So it would have to be side ZB and CB. Here we want to mark the vertical, we want to start by marking off one of the side in ASA. And then the vertical angles are congruent, so we can mark off one of those angles. And so the other angle that we need to be marking is on the other side of that included side. So angle X and angle C. And then here we want to go ahead and cross off one of those angles in ASA. And then the vertical angles are congruent, so we can mark off the other angle. And the additional part that we need to mark as congruent to state that these two triangles are congruent by ASA is the included side in both triangles, which would be FU and VU. I'm sorry, FJ and VJ.